Who does she think she's kidding? The old bat is clueless about how we're bleeding her precious bakery dry, Rick snickered. I froze in the hallway, my heart pounding as I overheard my stepson and husband discussing me like I was an imbecile. She's so desperate to play happy family she'll believe any lie we feed her, Damon replied with a callous laugh that turned my stomach. In that sickening moment, the rose-tinted glasses shattered. The idyllic family life I thought I had was a mirage, a facade meticulously crafted by two deceitful snakes I'd foolishly welcomed into my life, into my business. I squeezed my eyes shut, Damon's proposal 2 years ago replaying in my mind. You've worked so hard to build this from nothing. Let me take some of the burden off you, babe. What a expertly woven lie that was. I should have known a wealthy, handsome man like him didn't marry a divorcee like me for love. He did it to bleed me dry, to leech off the success I'd painstakingly built through decades of backbreaking work. She'll keep the fantasy alive as long as we keep throwing her scraps to run her little oven, Damon sneered. How dare he diminish the thriving bakery, my life's legacy, to nothing but a quaint hobby? The burning anger and humiliation blurred my vision. Damon's pretty boy spawn was just as vile, slithering back from college to help manage the family business. I cursed myself for being so blind. Every delayed supplier payment, every drained bank account, and every heedless expense made sense now. All smoke and mirrors to distract the stupid old lady from their plundering. But this awfully late awakening finally snapped me out of the denial plaguing my very existence. These con artists wouldn't bleed me dry anymore. Not my business, not my finances, nothing. For the first time since marrying Damon, clarity pierced through the fog of emotional manipulation. My fists clenched, I let out a slow, seething breath. No more wilted wallflower, no more cowering to these leeches. It was time to unleash the fighter who built this empire from scratch. Revenge would be the only thing bitter at my bakery from now on. I should have seen the red flags from the beginning, but I was too smitten to care. Damon swept me off my feet with his charm and endless compliments about the bakery's success. A divorced, career-driven woman like me was an easy target for his love-bombing tactics. You've built an empire, babe, but you deserve someone to share the throne with, he purred over a candlelit dinner, flashing that disarming smile. Within months of meeting at a networking event, he'd convinced me to marry him. I'll be the partner you need to take this place to new heights, Damon promised as we danced at our small wedding. What a rotten lie that was. The only heights he aspired to were immense profits and financial domination, no matter who he bled dry to get them. It wasn't long before Damon brought his son Rick into the con. My boy just graduated from business school. Figured we could use some fresh ideas to expand, he claimed with that cunning mask of benevolence. Rick's very presence made my skin crawl from day one. With his greasy smirk and snake-like stares, he gave off the unmistakable scent of a predator moving in for the kill. Not that I heeded those instincts, blinded by Damon's endless doting. Hey, step-monster, love what you've done with this place, Rick oozed with faux admiration upon joining the bakery staff, but it's about to get a whole lot sweeter now that I'm on board. He was absolutely revolting, talking down to me like a ditzy nobody despite building this empire with my bare hands. But I played the polite housewife, smiling through gritted teeth as the two conspired their schemes right under my nose. The front area could use an update, doll. Maybe some new display cases to really showcase Rick's brilliant marketing ideas, Damon suggested with that poker face of deception. Those pricey renovations were the first trickle that drained my accounts faster than I could refill them. By then, I was already too entrenched in Damon's sticky web, completely trapped by his manipulation. You've worked yourself to the bone for too long, babe. Time to finally reap the rewards of your success, he purred into my ear before his spending on lavish vacations and new cars for him and Rick went into hyperdrive. All while I put in endless hours to backfill what he was siphoning off behind the scenes, too enamored to realize I'd been bamboozled by both of them from the start. My own husband and stepson had become financial parasites, bleeding the bakery, my lifeblood to its last drop. But no more. This scorned woman was about to make them regret their gluttony. The knot in my stomach grew tighter with each financial discrepancy I uncovered. Scouring over balance sheets and bank statements, it was painfully obvious. Money was hemorrhaging out of the bakery at an alarming rate. Equipment upgrades I never authorized, vendor bills miraculously going unpaid, even the entire marketing budget seeming to vanish into thin air. I felt like a fool for letting Damon and Rick's smooth-talking blind me to the bleeding for so long. As much as I dreaded it, I knew I needed to consult someone I could actually trust before confronting those snake pit vipers. "Mrs. Wilkins, I've been meaning to have a word with you," Clem, my faithful delivery driver of 15 years, mumbled one morning. The normally jolly old man wrung his hands nervously as I pulled him into the back office. "I know it ain't my place, but something ain't been right round here since your husband and that boy of his started callin' the shots." My heart raced as he recounted shady dealing after shady dealing he'd witnessed. Damon and Rick strong-arming vendors, approving lavish purchases without my consent, even pocketing cash straight from the registers on their smug bathroom breaks. "Mrs., I've seen this type of thing before. It's a damn grift if I ever saw one," Clem said gravely. "And you're the one getting took for a ride." I swallowed hard, finally letting the incontrovertible truth wash over me. My own husband and stepson were the leeches bleeding this place dry through lies, deception, and outright theft. That very moment, any love or loyalty I still harbored for them shriveled up, replaced by a burning thirst for vengeance. "Appreciate you looking out for me, Clem," I replied, steadying my shaking voice. "Don't you worry, those parasites are about to get their karma in spades." Channeling every ounce of the fighter's spirit that built this place from nothing, I stormed into the front area where Damon and Rick were sipping espressos and jawing about their latest frivolous expenses. "You two have had a nice little run, haven't you?" I growled, slamming the incriminating files on the counter. "Well, playtime's over, you thieving snakes." Damon's signature smarmy grin melted as Rick frantically tried interjecting. "Listen here, you crazy old—" "Don't you dare talk back to me, you disrespectful leech," I exploded, the dam of pent-up fury finally rupturing. "I know every dirty trick in your con artist playbook, the shifty purchasing, the skimmed profits, all of it." For once, Damon's mask slipped, his eyes burning with dark menace. "You'll regret sticking your nose where it doesn't belong, Mara. You have no idea what vile things I'm capable of." His thinly veiled threat only furthered my resolve. No more cowering, no more fear. I'd spent far too long under these scumbags' toxic thumb. This was just the opening salvo. They were about to learn why hell hath no fury like a determined woman scorned. The color drained from Damon's face as I slammed the stack of incriminating evidence on the counter. Rick puffed out his chest, ready to spew more entitled vitriol, but I silenced him with a fiery glare. "Save your snake oil, you smug little bastard," I snarled. "The con is over, and so are your freeloading days bleeding me dry." Damon regained his composure with a sinister chuckle. "You've got some imagination working overtime, sweetheart. Those are some pretty serious accusations to be flinging around." "Spare me the innocent act. I have bank statements, receipts, everything proving your calculated pillaging of my business," I shouted, emboldened by the rush of pent-up vindication. "The grift ends now, or I'll make sure you both face the consequences." In a flash, Damon's mask shattered as he grabbed my arm with startling force. "Listen here, you ungrateful shrew. This pathetic bakery would have shriveled up without my financial genius keeping it afloat." Rick snickered, sizing me up like a plump gazelle to his calculating hyena. "Daddy's right. You're delusional if you think you could have grown this place without us steering the ship." I wrenched free of Damon's grip, the cruel menace blazing in his eyes confirming the monster I'd married. It was my blood, sweat, and tears that built this place into a success before you vultures arrived to pick it apart. Oh, how quickly you forget who saved you from your sad, lonely existence as a washed-up divorcee," Damon sneered viciously. "I took pity on your miserable self out of the charity in my heart. Everything you have is because of my generosity." The depraved arrogance oozing from them both made me sick to my stomach. In that moment, the self-doubting weakling I'd become under their control finally shattered. Their callous betrayal ignited an inferno in my soul I didn't know I possessed. "You're right, Damon. You did rescue me from a life of loneliness," I replied, my voice dripping with venomous sarcasm. "But not anymore. I'm done being a docile little victim while you crooks continue pillaging my life's work. Rick scoffed. Like you have any choice, you old hag. We've got the world by the... My palm struck his smarmy face with a resounding crack before he finished. As the snake recoiled in shock, I whirled on my soon-to-be ex-husband with a wicked smile. This is the opening round in the war you've brought down on yourselves. I'm taking back what's mine. This business. Every last cent you stole, all of it. You want to mock my donations to the old folks' home? Well, consider this me putting you ungrateful bastards out to pasture. Damon's face contorted with psychotic rage as I snatched the evidence off the counter and turned to leave. You'll regret crossing me, you miserable money-grubbing has-been. But his feeble threats bounced off me as I strode toward my new life, mentally preparing for the scorched earth battle ahead. After decades of playing the victim, the shackles were finally off. This woman was about to burn their whole pathetic con to the ground. The wheels were in motion. With Damon and Rick reeling from my bombshell confrontation, I seized the opportunity to regroup and plan my counterattack. First order of business was securing the one thing those parasites desperately craved: control over the bakery's assets and finances. I stormed into my lawyer Patricia's office, slamming the damning evidence on her desk. Those snakes thought they could bleed me dry through fraud and theft, I fumed. Well, not on my watch. I need an airtight way to cut them off and protect what's rightfully mine. Patricia's eyes went wide as she pored over the incriminating documents. Good God, Mara. Your husband and stepson make the mob look like amateurs with this level of grift. She assured me we had more than enough grounds to pursue criminal charges. But first, we needed to separate myself and the bakery from Damon and Rick's greed-fueled clutches. With Patricia's guidance, I stealthily changed all security codes, passwords, you name it, to freeze those vipers out of the business. Next came reporting Damon's illegal activities to the IRS for tax evasion, a move sure to bury him under audits and potential jail time. When the dust settled, those scumbags would be boxed out with zero access to keep pillaging. For the first time in years, I could breathe a sigh of relief that my life's work was safe from their gluttony. But exhaling that deep breath also fanned the flames of my fury into an inferno. I was done playing defensively. It was time to go on the offensive and detonate their pathetic con once and for all. One more favor, Patricia, I said with a devilish grin. I'll need record requests for all their financials, under-the-counter purchases, everything that proves their orchestrated theft. Her arched eyebrows said it all. Planning something delightfully devious, I take it? Consider it karmic retribution for their shameless pillaging, I replied coldly. Those vipers awoke a vengeful beast, and now they'll get caught in its jaw-snapping trap. As the lawyer drew up the formal requests, I felt a twisted giddiness at the prospect of methodically dismantling Damon and Rick's grift from every possible angle. Already I was piecing together an airtight case to obliterate them in criminal and civil court, but that was only phase one of my intricately planned retaliation. The real takedown was still to come, a frontal assault to decimate their ill-gotten riches, status, every last ill-gotten token of their sham lives. Those parasites recoiled at the mere thought of hard work. Just wait until this newly unbridled force of karmic vengeance got done thrashing them with the same blue-collar fury that built my empire from nothing. After decades of being the meek, unassuming hostess at their blood-sucking party, the fierce matriarch of this bakery was awakened, angrier than a bread oven scorched shut. And by God, I wouldn't rest until Damon and Rick got a brutally served taste of the karma they so ravenously deserved. With my finances and business safeguarded from Damon and Rick's greedy clutches, I shifted to dismantling their pathetic grift from the inside out. Step one was rallying reinforcements against their smear campaign that was undoubtedly coming. I called an emergency meeting with the bakery staff and several trusted local vendors, people who'd witnessed firsthand the snake's sleazy tactics. Mara, we had a hunch those two were up to no good from day one, grumbled Jim, my longtime bread supplier. Was just waiting for you to wise up and kick their con artist butts to the curb. Murmurs of support spread through the group as the full scope of Damon and Rick's meticulously orchestrated pillaging came to light. Receipts for unnecessary renovations and equipment they personally profited from shady vendor deals greasing their palms, even footage of them literally skimming cash from the register like common crooks. Those deplorable bastards were bleeding this place dry to fund their lavish lifestyle, I declared, rage seething through my words. Well, not anymore. It's time to expose their reprehensible grift and ensure they face the consequences. The roar of cheers and applause that followed forged an unshakable bond. I'd won the hearts and minds of the community. No matter what lies Damon and Rick spewed, these people had witnessed the truth firsthand. Their con was finished. Sure enough, the morning after news spread of me lawyering up and freezing the parasites from the bakery, a bombshell exclusive hit the gossip rags. I grinned defiantly as I read the too obvious fiction spun by Damon's PR lackeys, portraying him as an innocent, loving husband being cruelly extorted by his unhinged wife. Rick was even quoted whining about being viciously pushed out of the family legacy he sacrificed everything to uphold. Disgusting didn't even begin to cover the shamelessly fabricated smear campaign. But this time the snake's manipulative antics fell on deaf ears. I'd armed my supporters with an avalanche of hard proof to counter their baseless claims. "You low-life shysters picking on the wrong self-made woman to defraud," I declared in a marathon media circus blitz. "The bills, receipts, everything lays bare the truth. You craven scavengers stopped at nothing to pilfer my life's work for your own greed." With each TV hit, radio interview, and press conference, I mercilessly flayed Damon and Rick's reputations with documented evidence of their grift. Their manipulative spin faltered as the sheer mountain of indisputable proof steamrolled their lies. When the smoke finally cleared, the parasites stood exposed as exactly what they were: remorseless scam artists who exploited their family's trust to fund their obscenely lavish lifestyle. No amount of denials could erase their mugshots being splashed across newspapers as I filed criminal charges. As for the bakery, the groundswell of community support was overwhelming. Patrons lined up around the block, praising my resilience and vowing to help undo the damage Damon and Rick wrought. "You did what you had to do to exorcise those demonic leeches, Mrs. Wilkins." Mrs. Appleby, a sweet regular customer, cheered as the crowd erupted in raucous applause. For the first time in years, the venom had been lanced from my life. Those slithering parasites were scrambling to stay out of prison while I reclaimed what they almost stole. The empire I built through grit, passion, and integrity they could never fathom. But I wasn't done serving their karmic just desserts. Not by a long shot. The day of reckoning had finally arrived. Damon and Rick slithered into the courthouse, slicked back hair and tailored suits failing to mask the venomous glares shooting my way. "This is a sham, you money-grubbing harpy," Damon hissed under his breath as we crossed paths. "Once the truth comes out, you'll be the one rendered destitute." I couldn't stifle my wicked grin. "We'll see who gets the last laugh when your pathetic con gets dismantled once and for all." Their smug arrogance dissolved as my legal team entered like a SWAT unit armed to the teeth with overwhelming evidence. Financial statements tracking their intricate embezzlement schemes. Surveillance footage of them burglarizing the cash registers. Even recorded phone conversations outlining their illegal backroom vendor dealings. As the shocking allegations piled up, hour after damning hour, I reveled in watching the blood drain from their faces. For the first time, the snakes were the ones being strangled by the harsh truth they'd made a livelihood shrouding. How is this possible?" Rick babbled under his breath as their shady money trail was meticulously mapped out dollar for stolen dollar. Damon shot him a silencing glare before leaning over to hiss, "She's manufactured this entire conspiracy to destroy us. We've got to push back and regain control." When it was their turn to take the stand, their smarmy charisma went into overdrive, trying to depict poor, innocent businessmen being victimized by a deranged woman's vindictive delusions. But their quivering voices and shifting eyes betrayed the panic seizing them. "Your Honor, these ludicrous allegations are nothing more than a pathetic extortion ploy," Damon blurted, desperately sticking to his script. "That greedy, grasping woman is trying to steal away my family legacy." My grinning attorney stood up slowly. "Mrs. Wilkins didn't need to manufacture any conspiracy, Mr. Davenport. Every piece of evidence shows that you two were the ones engineering an elaborate criminal conspiracy to defraud her thriving business. One by one, the exhibits were re-entered. Payroll logs showing their pocketed side cash, bank transfers funneling funds to their lavish personal spending, even the sophisticated money laundering Damon set up through shady vendors. Your real family legacy appears to be generational con artistry and white-collar criminality, my attorney declared to a captivated courtroom audience. Damon shot to his feet, face flushed in apoplectic rage. This is a goddamn travesty. We were just smart businessmen taking our fair share from that pathetic bakery. I couldn't resist twisting the knife. By stealing and pillaging until nothing was left? Sorry, dear husband, that's not smart. That's depraved. As a hushed murmur rippled through the crowd, the judge mercifully called a recess. Damon and Rick stormed out, shoving past reporters like cornered rabid animals. But the damage was already done. The avalanche of indisputable evidence had turned the court of public opinion swiftly and decisively against them. Not even their armada of high-priced legal goons could stop the colossal implosion of their con. When the final guillotine dropped, a multi-million-dollar judgment against them for fraud, embezzlement, and a litany of other charges, it capped off my ultimate revenge in gloriously ruthless fashion. Every penny stolen from the bakery had to be repaid, plus the Scion's forfeiture of all their sleazily acquired assets. I beamed victoriously as Damon and Rick were led away in handcuffs, the color drained from their faces in stunned realization of how spectacularly their con had collapsed around them. Justice had been decisively served, yet still felt like just the opening salvo. Those parasites deserved to be humiliated, crushed, and left as the destitute scam artists they were at their cores. This is just the beginning of your reckoning, I promised darkly as Damon's hateful glare met mine. Get ready to wallow in the very rock bottom you tried to relegate me to. The courthouse steps descended into a blinding frenzy of camera flashes and shouted questions as Damon and Rick were hauled off in cuffs. But I basked in the chaos, savoring the cathartic sight of those con artists getting their public comeuppance. Mrs. Wilkins, how does it feel to defeat the very snakes who almost destroyed your life's work? One reporter shouted over the din. I flashed a vindicated grin. Like serving up a steaming hot dish of karma to those parasites who deserved it more than anyone. As the disgraced father-son duo vanished into the police van, a deafening roar of cheers erupted from the crowd of supporters who'd gathered. Longtime bakery customers, local vendors, even other small businesses who narrowly avoided getting conned by Damon and Rick in the past, all united in raucous celebration of the snake's downfall. You showed those crooks what we mean by Missouri grit, Mara? Mrs. Appleby cried out, waving a pitchfork-styled cane in the air. Gave those big city sleazeballs a prime nation-style butt-kicking. The cheers and hollers washed over me in waves of redemptive validation. For too long, those leeches drained my vigor and self-worth through their exploitation. But taking them down awoke the fighter spirit that first breathed life into my bakery decades ago. This is only the beginning, folks. I rallied the crowd with my fist raised high. We won't rest until every last criminal's been punished, every stolen penny recovered. It's a new era of justice for all the honest, hard-working folks they tried to trample over. The roar that followed was deafening, electrifying the air with a shared sense of community uprising. I'd gone from isolated victim to avenging heroine for everyday entrepreneurs trying to chase their dreams without con artists muddying the waters. In the weeks that followed, the sweet taste of victory kept getting richer. Damon and Rick's smear campaign imploded as trusted ally after ally came forward to corroborate my evidence against them. Even their high-priced PR staff jumped ship, realizing they were modern-day snake oil salesmen without credibility. What's more, the outpouring of community support and new businesses flooding my bakery made the post-con rejuvenation process blissfully simple. With so many people cheering me on, neighbors lined up to help renovate and restore the sacred space those parasites once soiled. Gotta make sure this place gets its luster back after those scoundrels tried dragging it through the mud. Dutch, my 70-year-old contractor friend, declared while putting the final polish on the fresh hardwood floors and display cases. It was a true renaissance sparked from the ashes of abusive deceit. The scrubbing away of Damon and Rick's toxic blight reminded me that my passion and perseverance made this place what it is, not their greed. As the grand reopening celebration approached, the streets around my bakery were packed with revelers cheering the death of one Khan and the triumphant rebirth of an icon. Camera crews swarmed to document the heartwarming story of community resilience. Share some words of inspiration for anyone else who's been victimized by fraud, a reporter asked, sticking a mic in my face. I smiled warmly and nodded. No matter how bleak things may seem when con artists infect your life, never lose hope. Chin up, fight back with truth as your blade, and you too can excise those poisonous snakes and recapture your passions. The roar of thunderous cheers and applause filled the air as confetti rained from windows above. A new era was dawning for my sweet empire, one sanitized of the toxic greed and exploitation that once tried choking its lifeblood. After getting ruthlessly conned within an inch of my life, I'd risen like a fiery phoenix to roast those slithering snakes in their own karmic inferno. More importantly, I'd awakened the dormant courage that fueled my lifelong dream, the intoxicating hunger to build something richly my own without fear of parasitic leeches. Justice was decisively served, alongside a harsh lesson about never underestimating a determined woman scorned. And as I reopened the bakery's doors under a blissfully crime-free new horizon, that warrior's pride swelled in my chest. This was my kingdom again, unblemished and thriving, with not a single toxic leech to drain its bountiful future.